It's a year anniversary for the Nottingham attacks, which saw Barnaby Webber and Grace O'Malley Kumar stabbed repeatedly by Valdo Calocane as they walked home after a night out to celebrate the end of their exams.
School caretaker Ian Coates was also murdered as he made his way into work. And a year on, the families of the victims say they will continue to fight for justice and lasting change.
Well, joining us now is Barnaby's mum, Emma Webber, and lawyer acting on behalf of the families, Neil Hudgell. Right, Emma, thank you so much, and Neil, for coming in.
Morning, hi.
I'm so sorry for what happened. And I want to ask you, how do you even move forward after something like this? Because it must be terrifying and awful.
It's unfathomable and it's unimaginable. And sometimes, how do you even get out of bed? It's that difficult. But somehow you do. And I think it's parental instinct. I've got my son Charlie, I've got my husband David, and my friends and family, and you know, you've got to try and keep going. And there's all the old adages of put one foot in front of the other, get to the end of the day. That's all true. But what we didn't expect coming after this awful tragedy was all of the failings and the wrongdoings of various agencies, and that's just added another horrific layer of trauma. You know, but you know, we're a year on, wiser, and thank God we've got an offer of support from these guys, because we need to be able to hand it over properly to the people who really know what they're doing. We've just made a lot of noise, rightly so, and got this far. That's over. No pressure. So over to you.
Yeah. So Neil, the greatest sense of injustice you feel is the fact that Calocane has gone to a mental institution and not serving a custodial sentence in prison. That's because of a number of reasons. I mean, you have a concern that, for example, he wasn't drug tested in the immediate aftermath of his attack, which meant that if he was found to be on drugs, he couldn't have claimed diminished responsibility. Is that right?
That's part of the story. I guess, you know, the law around diminished responsibility, manslaughter, murder, insanity, all those things is incredibly complex. I think one of the key issues here is that Emma and the families feel that they were an after-the-event thought when it came to the prosecution process. You know, victims' rights at the end of the queue. There was a rush, in many senses, for the experts to conclude that this wasn't a man with full intent and could not be guilty of murder. And their views were only really sought as a fait accompli, and as part of that, they've brought into the reckoning and thinking there that there are issues that ought to have been explored on a preemptive basis. So, for example, the whole history or the recent history around potential drug taking. This is a man who refused to give intimate samples at the police station, showed considerable elements of premeditation, and that's just but one strand of a whole raft of different things that have gone wrong, both before and after.
Yeah, the behaviour of the police officers themselves, making comments which I don't want to repeat.
No,
about
need to. It's disgusting.
Your children,
and the chief constable wouldn't let me address them privately. So I thought, I can't. There's things you can't let lie. You have to address things, and I hope it makes them think differently in the future. But that letter, where I wrote the open letter to those WhatsApp officers, is, you know, they're probably parents, most of them, right? You just think. You know, just think before you do. I mean, the misconduct of officers, there's so much more to uncover. That we're deeply unhappy with the investigation. There's clear, massive failings and missed opportunities before the 13th of June, and that's unforgivable. They really do. Two police forces have blood on their hands.
What's gone wrong with them for them to be so detached from humanity and empathy that they would say, behave in that way?
I think you end up with a depersonalised system that... certainly, when it goes wrong, it goes very badly wrong. And I think there's a lack of professional curiosity very often within some of the public services now. And so we're talking about failings within institutions, but also between institutions. So no one seems to join the dots up. No one seems to speak within each other, because, you know, the real sad reality here is that if two police forces had spoken to each other, if police forces had spoken to mental health, that 3 wonderful lives wouldn't have been lost.
Emma, you and other families of the victims. You've become quite close over the last year. You've been fighting courageously together. Can I ask if you've had a chance really to grieve for Barnaby?
Don't think so. I don't think so. And I think that the Amali Kumars and the Cokes would say the same, because we've had to do this. Well, we didn't have to do this. We had a choice. But, we're not going to go quietly into the good night when something wrong has happened. There's a right and there's a wrong. And even the Justice Minister said to us when we spoke to him, we were raising our concerns at the end of last year. He said, "What's the rush? This Calocane's not going anywhere." This is his concern about the judicial system. So sorry, Alex Chalk, I'm naming you because you said it to us, and he said that the system's flawed. He's called for change to homicide. We don't deny Calocane's mentally unwell. Of course he is. But you said about the element of planning. This is somebody who apparently was in an extended psychosis. He managed to complete his 2-1 degree in mechanical engineering. Exactly. He had jobs. He had a flat. He got evicted from that. He caught trains. He took money out. He planned. He had weapons. He had weapons in that rucksack.
What should happen to him? What should happen to him? Short of the death penalty, which I'm sorry, that's...
Oh, shit.
If you don't start me on that, because we know he did it, so there would be no question.
He shouldn't have been out in the community, so that has to be explored, and lots of questions need to be answered. But there's an element, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
So just a hospital order, just being treated as a patient is not enough. There should be a penal punishment there. There's no punishment. That's a big P word that was missing through the whole thing. With a weak prosecution, we felt. But it's going to happen again. It is going to happen again, because it's not just a one-off. You're hearing it over and over and over again. How many knife crime, how many violent, psychotic attacks have there been in this country? And they're escalating. And, I hope that with the change to the law and bringing it to the fore and sharing our hideous pain, we might... There's one thing we can do in this world now is maybe make a bit of change.
We hope so.
I hope so.
Thank you very much.